really happens in space, that is never talked about, because NASA is a military, not a civilian institution like we think. And of course they're secret astronauts and their secret programs to other planets, Mars, etc., and even further, are never revealed. I think it takes about 50 years before they really... Well, of course, hacking into somebody's computer is criminal.
Yes,
so in that respect, but also it was so sensitive information that he gave that added to his destiny in a way. But I'm happy he did that. That should be announced more and more, even if people are harassed when they come out with this. I know it from my own experience. I mean, there are very few days in the whole year that I'm not harassed by neighbors or by somebody else. And I've been always harassed when I have given an interview or a lecture or written an article or written a book or whatever. Then it really comes back, like, you know, revenge.
So since the last interview, you were wearing certain things, and they...
Yes, I just changed clothes this morning, and I was looking at... I thought maybe I should have the same clothes on, but all of a sudden the shirt that I had on with little bricks gone. I bought it in the States, so I was really mad that it's gone. The same thing happened when I came from a non-lethal weapons conference in Germany. In 3 days, some Norwegians came in and made an interview, which is on internet, in insynsspeilet.no. And the very nice violet jacket that I had, the silk jacket, I loved it. It was very good, and the color was, you know, transformation type. That was gone the next day. So always something is gone, and every time I come home I see, what have they taken now? It's usually small things, but it's always emotional things. And the funny thing is, really, that when I concentrate my cell phone, like I had a old compass from my father. I took it from the drawer and looked. Remembered I was 15 when I got it, an old compass, still working fine. I put it back into the drawer. In a few days I took it again, was gone. Another thing...
So do you think that you've got company, invisible company?
I don't think so. I don't think those were dematerializations, but of course I can't prove it. I think it was somebody coming in. Anyway, it's somebody who sees with my eyes and hears with my ears, and they can have a wall-through-wall radar in the next house if they want to. And every time I go out, somebody bangs the doors or, you know, surveillance. And also, when I looked at some porcelain thing with lobster signs, oh, I'm glad they haven't taken this. Next day I saw it was gone. So they always react to the things that I concentrate on. I look at a photograph, well, I'm glad this I still have, it's gone. So either they are using this technology of remote viewing, mind control, whatever, through the satellites, or then it is physical, somebody is following with a radar through the walls. And of course that is always in a neighboring house. Oh yeah, they know. They even know your thoughts. And faster than we do, as I've mentioned. Our brain is very, very slow. Well, I've been dealing with, in the conferences, with remote viewers, talk to them. One of the trainers is John Alexander at Monroe Institute. I heard that from an acquaintance of mine who was working at the Monroe Institute in Virginia, USA. And there they have layers of, well, it was, I think, three stores down in cellars, and it was for maybe a catastrophe that they would be safe. And the people had to stay in a tiny little studio room with a bed and a little table, and they got things over their ears. And then the leader, whether it was John Alexander or somebody else, because he was dealing with the military personnel, but then there are civilian courses too. Yes. So the leader takes a mic, and all those in their cells hear it, and it starts with the waves of the Pacific. So you get really relaxed, and then it is an order, go. And where do you go? That is, you get out of your body, and you go to a Pacific island, for instance. It's a military base. It's always military, of course, yeah, because that's what they're interested in seeing. And then you go around, hovering around, you see everything, and come back and report. You can go to other planets. You can experience things. You can also go to the frequency of your dead relatives, and you can see them and talk to them. Well, I think it is, because Hollywood movies are often based on reality. think of, movies like Control Factor from 2003. It shows exactly how mind control is done. It's old-fashioned technology, of course. They don't show today's technology. You know, they screw your neck with a device, but you don't need to, because the smallest ones are 2 micromilli. So, you know, it's old technology. But the idea is that they microchip you, and after that they control you. Totally.
How does one try to combat this kind of mind control?
I think number one is awareness. You have to know that the technology exists, and it's nothing to do with pathology or you know, that you're not crazy or whatever. But there's a good exercise. I just read it from a German doctor, that you can sort of, for just 1 minute, do certain exercises. Like this, for 20 seconds, you sort of disassociate. Then do the same with your ears for 20 seconds, and then do this 2-3 times a day. I couldn't understand how that could work, but I've done it, and it does work. It does work. So that's one thing that you can do.
Does this sort of subtly release tensions in the muscles of the brain?
That's right. That's what he seems to instruct. So at least that's something that you can try. And then you have to tell others, because even if they don't believe you, then somebody else tells them, somebody else, a 3rd, 4th, 5th person, then they start seeing that there's something terribly, terribly wrong with planet Earth today and the people who are on the top. Well, you can do it with many, many, many kinds of things, but I think the very usual one is with electromagnetic fields. You're being beamed at a certain frequency. And when that frequency hits you, they have certain frequencies for certain feelings. The feeling of touch, of eyes, of ears, whatever. They have each frequency.
What sort of frequencies are we talking about? Are we talking extra low frequencies?
Like some 25 hertz or 9 hertz or whatever. Yeah. And then another thing is they are using drugs. And for instance,
is this in our food? I mean, we've heard of the fluoride debate for fluoride in water.
Well, that's one way. I mean, putting into water and putting into your food all kinds of things that are not good for you, and they know it very well that they're not good for us. That affects also your brain activity and your psyche. But
that's involved with the food which the European Union are forcing on us. The types of
chemicals. Well, Americans are mostly forcing it. You know, the American companies. But with gene-modified food and things like that, and we do not know, and nobody knows what's going to happen, because they experiment on long range, and we don't know what happens in a year or 20 years. Just like we don't know what happens, except we start knowing now what happens with mobile phones in 20 years. You know, they cause brain tumors and blindness and deafness and cancer and whatever. It's totally, totally known. But it's experimentation on a long range.
Do you think that those frequencies and those devices are specifically selected to test on us? Do you think they're changing the species, or trying to kill us, or change us, or whatever?
Well, at least they're making us very sick. And since the goal that I have read of the elite, if I can use that word, is to diminish our population on planet Earth by at least 2/3, maybe even 5 billion. So that's very, very negative.
Can you explore that more? I mean, we're facing this new disease which is coming out, the
swine
flu.
Oh, that's just rubbish. That is really rubbish. You know, it's not the swine flu that's dangerous, it's the injections. Because it's supposedly, it's not only swine, but it is human virus mixed with swine virus, mixed with bird virus. And of course, behind the whole thing is to diminish world population, because it's very toxic, and to get milliards and milliards and milliards into the pockets of those who put them out. Rumsfeld is an owner also in one of the big drug companies. And since they want to diminish the population, so they start saying that children and pregnant women are the first ones. Eliminate the next generation.
So you've been trying to alert certain governments about this?
Not governments, but I have written information to Finland, because I don't think it's going to work, because